Hey everybody, it's Party Elite here with another episode of Total Breakdown. We've got a very interesting Empire build from ShetlandApache today, going up against the Lizardmen of on.jay. We begin, of course, with talk of composition and deployment, and as I said, the Empire is doing something really interesting today. In charge, we have Balthasar Gelt up in the air. Right below him, we have 2 units of Outriders. Then we have this Luminark of Hysh up front, able to fire away basically from the get-go. And then all the way back here, we've got these Outriders with grenade launchers, a unit of Royal Altdorf Griffites, and this unit of Demigryph Knights with halberds tucked away in the trees. These Empire Knights are back here as well, able to push in wherever necessary. And then we've also got 2 units of Knights of the Blazing Sun tucked in these trees to the left over here. On the other side of the field, the Lizardmen keep things comparatively simple, but they are trying some clever things as well. We have the Slann Mage Priest of High Magic in charge. Right next to him, this Bastiladon with Revivification Crystal is going to provide some healing support. The front line consists of 4 units of Saurus Warriors, and right behind them we have 2 units of Saurus Spears with shields on either flank, and the Temple Guard. So a touch of anti-large across the back line there, alongside some anti-large armor piercing. The Pterodon Riders will be able to chase after cavalry or handgunners, whatever might be needed, while up front over here we have 3 units of Chameleon Skinks creeping through the trees right now, and then all the way at the back over here, 2 Skink Chiefs up in the air, able to provide support wherever necessary, able to provide encouragement, and also able to provide extra cold-blooded casts. So let's take a look at how this all breaks down. Some very interesting stuff from the Empire, especially here. You can see both sides are charging towards each other, and these Chameleon Skinks in the trees over here are very soon going to discover, as you can see, these Knights of the Blazing Sun. So right away, the Knights of the Blazing Sun are made to turn around and try to get away because they're not going to enjoy the engagements if they take place in the trees. Of course, they will suffer penalties, and at the same time, we do have the Luminark of Hysh pushing forward, trying to get some shots off at these Skink Chiefs, remove that leadership buff, remove the extra cold-blooded cast as soon as possible, while these Outriders as well just pushing forward, getting into position, just causing a little bit of chaos on the other side of the field if possible. So again, the Luminark of Hysh is notorious for not necessarily obeying and not necessarily firing on targets. So just trying to line up a shot here, trying to get that shot off, while these Knights of the Blazing Sun are able to get out of the trees. Both units are able to stay safe from the Pterodon Riders as well as the Chameleon Skinks. Finally, that Luminark manages to get a shot off, and take a look at just how much damage it does. Square into that Skink Chief, dropping its health by about 50%, dropping its morale as well. So wonderfully done there. Great target selection, I should say. And then Cold-Blooded gets kicked off right away, obviously, just to try and stay alive, while we have a wonderful charge coming in from the Knights of the Blazing Sun into these Saurus Warriors, just getting that early damage in. Nicely done once more. The Outriders now pulling to the side over here, looking for a chance to get another shot off, while these Skinks are pulling off to the side as well, trying to chase after these Knights of the Blazing Sun. They are slowed down by the poison, so hoping to finish off at least 1 cavalry unit early on. Luminark of Hysh gets a flubbed shot there, unfortunately hits the tree, doesn't do any damage, so a wasted shot with the minimal ammo it does have, while these Outriders are turning around, popping shots off at this other Skink Chief, hoping to drop it as well, as these Outriders with grenade launchers are firing away at the infantry, as they rightfully should. So good call over there, just trying to get some damage done nice and early, of course. The Skink Chief continues to pull back. Cold-Blooded just finished being used up. It is back at full health, and the Luminark continues to give chase, turns around and pops another shot, another wonderfully targeted shots over here at the Skink Chief, and take a look at how much damage this one does. Basically eliminates the Skink Chief, absolutely shattered instantaneously, turns around, gives up on the fight, while this Skink Chief over here as well is not in an ideal situation. Those Outriders are firing away, and meanwhile we have the Chameleon Skinks pushing up as well, chasing after Balthasar Gelt, hoping to cause some damage to Empire leadership as soon as possible. At the same time, these Knights of the Blazing Sun are looking for an opportunity to dive in, maybe get a surround on these Chameleon Skinks. They are fast, those Chameleon Skinks, so a hard time catching them, obviously, but we do have these grenades coming in right now, causing a touch of damage here and there. Not too much, but a little bit of damage will go a long way ultimately, while the Royal Altdorf Griffites, as well as the Demigryph Knights with halberds, are chasing after that Bastiladon with Revivification Crystal, hoping to take care of that Revivification ability nice and early. Balthasar Gelt now getting some magic off, and you can see we've got the Hounds coming in first, doing a little bit of damage. Of course, it is the Lore of Metal after all, so doing a touch of damage, and we also have the Bombardment coming in, focusing in on these Temple Guards. They are probably the most threatening unit as a cavalry-heavy army, so just trying to get some hurt done there, while the Luminark of Hysh, you can see, has turned around now and is focusing on the other Skink Chief, hoping to get some shots off and try to take care of this one as well. Unfortunately, again, a missed shot over there, not able to do any damage, but these Outriders continue to give chase, open fire at the Skink Chief, who is using Cold-Blooded right now to try and stay alive. Gelt over here, meanwhile, continues to use Arcane Conduit, trying to get ready to use some more magic whenever possible. Well, over here we have these Empire Knights having the gap close to them very quickly here. These Saurus Warriors are pushing in, and they decide to pull back into some safety, while Balthasar Gelt continues to be shot at by some of these Chameleon Skinks. And you can see we have these Knights of the Blazing Sun giving chase to these Chameleon Skinks over here. And again, they're very fast, so you do have to come in from multiple sides to try and shut them down. They're very difficult to keep busy and to keep away because they can fire while moving as well. All the way back here, at the same time, the Bastillodon with Revivification Crystal has basically been taken care of. No trouble here for the Royal Altdorf Gryphites or the Demigryph Knights with Halberds. They've barely taken any damage, and that Bastillodon is more or less dead. It is routing right now, but it's a good idea to make sure it's been completely eliminated. Meanwhile, you can see over here this charge goes into these Chameleon Skinks, doing a touch of damage, and if they stay engaged in melee, the Chameleon Skinks are not going to have a good time. The Outriders back here, meanwhile, continue to chase after the Skink Chief, while the Luminark of Hysh now has to get away from these Saurus Warriors as well, while this unit of Empire Knights turns around to try and get a charge into these bad boys. These Skinks over here, meanwhile, the Chameleon Skinks get hit by another bombardment, so again, just a touch of damage, but enough to get them to move or maybe cause a little bit of morale damage, as you can see. And again, that Luminark of Hysh is trying to get away, gets hit by some poison damage, but that rear charge comes in from the Empire Knights, making sure these Saurus Warriors aren't able to do too much, and the Luminark gets another shot off into the Skink Chief over here, trying to get a nice focus shot, and once more, absolutely devastating that Skink Chief, removing it from play. Up front over here, meanwhile, Balthazar Gelt is hit by Tempest, slowing him down, hoping maybe to focus some shots down on him, but you can see we have the Knights of the Blazing Sun having taken care of those Chameleon Skinks back there, and all the way back there, that Bastillodon with Revivification Crystal is dead, so the Royal Altdorf Gryphites and the Demigryph Knights with Halberds are able to come back and join the main fight. These Empire Knights have done a good job here, slowing these Saurus Warriors down, keeping them occupied, getting them enraged, so they're not actually chasing after that Luminark anymore, and the Luminark now just needs to look for its next target, while over here we have the Knights of the Blazing Sun getting a wonderful rear charge into these Chameleon Skinks again, keeping them on their toes, making sure they're not able to fire away, and dropping them, causing a lot of hurt. Balthazar Gelt, meanwhile, pulls away into some safety, trying to stay alive, while in the center over here you can see another bombardment going down as the Demigryph Knights here dive in, the Royal Altdorf Gryphites rather, and these Hounds over here as well against the Saurus Warriors, not doing too much damage. In comes the Shield of the Old Ones, trying to provide some protection, mainly I think to the Slann Mage Priest, who is also using Apotheosis to try and stay alive and cause some fear, but unfortunately with the Royal Altdorf Gryphites right there, a fair bit of damage is being done, but they do have to turn away because there are some Saurus Spears there, so the Royal Altdorf Gryphites decide it's better to stay alive, to die another day, to fight another day rather, and so they pull away, and again, they don't want to fight in the trees because they will suffer penalties. These Outriders, meanwhile, with grenade launchers are firing away into these Temple Guard, who again, just don't know where to go. They're not able to close the gap to any of the cavalry, so they're taking a fair bit of damage there from these grenades, just dropping dead, losing their morale as well, unsure which way to go, what to approach. Meanwhile, back here, these Royal Altdorf Gryphites just trying to get away, trying to charge into these Chameleon Skinks perhaps to shut those guys down, as these Pterodons are threateningly closing the gap, and the rest of the Lizardmen army is tucked in these trees. You can see we have another bombardment coming in, a wonderful clump over here to target as well. Won't do too much damage, but again, any damage counts, whatever can be done there, of course, with the lore of metal, which I'm still being very mean to, perhaps. At the same time, these Demigryph Knights with Halberds are looking for an opportunity to dive in. They want to stay clear, of course, of these Saurus Spears, because that won't be an ideal engagement. And all the way back here, the Royal Altdorf Gryphites have been pinned down by the Pterodon Riders, but the Royal Altdorf Gryphites will at least hold them in place and do a fair bit of damage, as they are anti-large and armor-piercing. Meanwhile, over here, the Luminark of Hysh gets a wonderful shot off on the Temple Guard over here, again, just dropping their morale, not really killing them or finishing them off, but in come some grenade shots as well. So again, just trying to scare these guys off the field, do however much damage is possible to be done. Now the Lizardmen have more or less entirely camped in these trees. A couple of these units here and here being shot down, chasing after various units, or routing as the case may be up over here, but a large majority of the army is tucked away in the trees, trying to bait the Empire into the trees to fight, because of course, again, the cavalry-heavy army will suffer penalties, while all the way back here, as you can see, the Pterodon Riders have given up on the fight, as the Royal Altdorf Gryphites, again, in a prolonged melee engagement, will come out on top of the Pterodon Riders, because they are anti-large and armor-piercing. Now the Royal Altdorf Gryphites are able to chase after these Chameleon Skinks back here, and they do just that, trying to make sure that they give up on the fight, completely leave the field, while Balthazar Gelt once more hit by Tempest, but that doesn't really do anything because there isn't anything that can fire on him, so he just pushes on by and pops these Hounds once again down here, this time actually doing a fair amount of damage on these Saurus Spears. And good call again, the Saurus Spears are a threatening unit, and meanwhile these Outriders with grenade launchers, or these Outriders as well as these Outriders with grenade launchers, are able to fire away at the infantry that is giving chase. Balthazar Gelt does get hit by Arcane Unforgiving, and it is doing a fair bit of damage, so good call over there, but the Slann Mage Priest of High Magic is putting himself in a fairly threatening position. That Luminark of Hysh just got a wonderful hit on him, his health is down to about 50%, decides to turn around and get out of here because all of that Outrider fire is not doing his health any, well, it's not helping him out, let's just put it that way. These Outriders with grenade launchers continue to fire away into these clumps as well. These massive infantry clumps are wonderful targets for those grenades, so you can see as they approach, those grenades just coming in, blowing up, doing a fair bit of damage here and there. They're clumped together, so both units are suffering from it, and meanwhile these Chameleon Skinks over here now pulling back as well into some safety, not sure exactly what to do, and down goes the Slann Mage Priest in morale. Still sticking in there, still able to fight. That shot from the Luminark of Hysh did a lot of work there, and Balthazar Gelt sees the opportunity. He's going to turn around and give chase to the Slann Mage Priest, as over here you can see the Luminark is out of ammunition, so we have these Demon Griff Knights with halberds pushing in to prevent the Outriders with grenade launchers being shut down, and we've got the Luminark of Hysh pushing in as well, just causing that morale damage from a rear charge. So wonderfully done, using the Luminark in melee to actually have these Saurus Spears with shields giving up, and Balthazar Gelt now giving chase to this Slann Mage Priest, who has given up on the fight, but again, if you kill leadership, it'll do a lot more morale damage than just leaving it hanging. So Balthazar Gelt decides to dive in, get a wonderful charge in, and do a little bit of damage, and ultimately, by getting that charge in, he turns around and manages to slay the Slann Mage Priest, forcing a GG from the Lizardmen, and a Pyrrhic victory for the Empire. Now, it must have been quite the shock loading into the battlefield and seeing the cavalry build from the Empire led by Balthazar Gelt. Despite that, the Lizardmen put up a pretty good fight. Their skink chiefs were picked off one by one, and they were rarely able to catch their opponents off guard, but a fair bit of damage was done. The Luminark did a lot of heavy lifting, flubbing only a few shots here and there. As for the Lizardmen, unfortunately, the loss of the Slann Mage Priest brought about an early end to the battle. I wonder if they could have caused a bit more damage, maybe even come out on top, though it would have been an uphill battle, especially against a skilled opponent. As always, make sure you subscribe to this channel for more Total War content and keep sending in your battle replays. I've got a link down below to the Discord as well as a submissions link. You can use either. As always, I think it's one of the best ways to learn, and it's always nice to see such amazing battles and strategies from the community. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you on the battlefield.